Okay, yay. I found a part two with the fearful and anxious dog. Yeah, it's bad, guys. Let's go with it.
So we're going to go on a walk. Haru has leash reactivity. A walk, if she loves walks, it can be a very bonding experience for a dog that is nervous of me. She just wants to get to the camera person, Allison. Well, I'm going to use treats, but she'll come eat them. It doesn't really help. Haru, good girl. And she'll come eat them, be normal. Oh, she didn't eat them. She usually does. But we're going to go on a little walk, and I've got a leash because she can't just avoid. She can't just, I've been nice to her. She can't just avoid me. She's got to learn that I'm not going to hurt her.
If you have a leash reactive dog, just taking them for a walk and correcting them for the reactivity is not going to fix anything. That's going to go back to suppression. Number one, this dog is not prepared to go for a walk and deal with leash reactivity if the dog cannot walk nicely and on a loose lead, right? So if you don't have verbal control of a dog, then the dog is not ready to work on the reactivity. And a lot of reactivity does come from frustration, fear, anxiety, nervousness, and things of that. So here we have, this dog has a history of fear and anxiety. We've already seen in the other video. More than likely, if the dog has leash reactivity, the dog has it on a fear basis. So it is a fear reactivity. You do not work on a fear by putting the dog in a fearful situation with someone they fear. And again, he is all about, this dog needs to know it's safe and I'm not going to hurt it. Even though he has been aggressive towards this dog, he's been confrontational, he's been disrespectful. And the dog is now showing, I'm really shut down because now I'm not even going to take the treats. But again, he is putting this dog in a situation it is not prepared for, not even anywhere close prepared for it. And he's going to put him in this situation and just use punishment to fix the behavior. And all he's doing is suppressing the behavior. Let's go.
A lot of pulling. Sit. We're going to go on a walk. We've got a dog set up out there with one of my trainers, so we're going to pass that dog. Always a loose leash. She wants to make the leash tight so that she can, there was a little growler, so that she would just sit on a tight leash all day because she can feel me through the leash. Can you hear those growls? You're okay. Everything's fine. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Everything's fine.
So, I mean, he knows the dog is pulling, and so the dog doesn't have good leash skills, which means, again, it's going to be very challenging to work on leash reactivity. The dog is pulling away because the dog is trying to avoid him, trying to avoid the confrontation, to avoid the conflict. And, of course, all he's doing is saying loose leash, but then he's tightening the leash and popping the leash. If you just watch that little wrist, he is constantly doing that with that leash. Yeah, this dog is not prepared for this. So he's just setting this dog up for failure.
You're a good girl. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Good. Good. Down into the side head, like, I'm not scary guy. Good. Good. You're a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Oh, kisses. Nice kisses. I think me just standing up, you know.
So as he's standing there staring at the dog is again trying to avoid conflict, but is too afraid to take his eyes off of him because he is being very aggressive. But it's amazing how when he squats and he starts to use some calming signals, some head turns, the dog starts to approach. So it's almost like he knows what to do, but he refuses to do it. And I'm not really sure if that's the case or if he's just getting lucky here. And then he's like, oh, good kisses. In actuality, that dog is licking to appease him. And he's trying to appease him to prevent any more abuse. Once again, he's clueless on dog behavior.
All right, let's go on a walk. Because I wanted you to see the progression of this dog. I also want you to see leash reactivity, how I deal with it. Although I'm not going to deal with it like normal leash reactivity because I'm working on two things, leash reactivity and fear of me, or fear in general, right? It's not warm, panting a little bit, her body's heating up. We got to be soft with her. Good girl, stay.
When working on something that the dog is afraid of, if we're going to put them in a stressful situation, we need to make sure that there's everything else that is surrounding them is comfort and secure safety net. He has admitted this dog is afraid of him, but yet he is forcing this dog to be with him to go out to work on behavior of being fearful of other dogs or being fearful of other dogs on a leash. My guess is this leash reactivity comes from the dog being overly corrected while on a leash when seeing dogs. And that will create leash reactivity, very common. Y'all have seen the videos that I've done on it and talked about it because I've covered one of his videos and his leash reactivity, how horrible that was. So with this dog, there's no progression that's going to happen. You're going to watch it and think there's progression if you believe his BS. But again, it's suppression. And we never put a dog in a situation that is nerve-wracking with someone he's already afraid of. So this is just a bad setup.
We're always working on stay. Just because a dog is fearful doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. Stay. Good girl. Okay, come on. Let's go on a walk. Come on.
So many aversive and balance trainers believe this, that a dog has no autonomy and no agency over their behavior. If a dog is being fearful, they have the skills to deal with that fear for survival. And when we get involved, oftentimes that is what creates the issue. So here he says this dog doesn't have a right to do what it wants just because it's afraid. Again, that's going to his ego, and it's not being respectful of the dog's welfare and well-being. And you can watch how, because you've seen, if you've watched the first part of him working with this dog, he tells the dog to go through the door. The dog's like, oh, hell no, because I don't trust you, because the last time you did that, you jerked me back. And so he's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You can do this. The dog's like, no, you're tricking me. This is a trick because you tricked me yesterday. I don't know why. I don't know how these people that do this don't go back and watch these videos and go, yeah, that's really weird. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Yeah, this is insane, y'all.
Good. I have a gentle leader on me to use, and I'm probably going to use it. Based on this, we haven't even left. She's been out here a bunch. We haven't even left this area, and she's just doing this circling thing. How am I going to go on a walk with this? Every time, if I try to keep her here, it's going to be hard.
So what you're seeing with this dog, her central nervous system is through the roof. She is very hypervigilant. She is very on edge. She's looking around. She's trying to figure out what to do. And all he is concerned about is getting the dog to stay right there. He knows this dog is not ready to go for a walk, and yet he's pushing this dog anyway. He's not talking to the dog and communicating on how to walk. There's no rewards that are happening. He's just basically saying, you know what, watch and read my mind, or you're going to get corrected. So yeah, this is, when you see your dog doing this, this is not bad leash manners. This dog is not able to handle what's in the environment. And if you're one of those people that get overwhelmed by stimulation, so if you go into a big crowd and it's overwhelming to your system and you're just like, and you can't take it in and you can't process the information, this is what the dog is going through right now. So the dog is not going to be able to process really anything. And the more that cortisol is running through that system, the worse it's going to get. And the dog is going to start riding higher and higher and higher. This is very dangerous for this dog's mental well-being and its overall health.
Okay, but let's see. Leaving me, and I stop. Look at this, shiftiness. Good girl. Shifty. I don't want to give a bunch of corrections. Look at this, look at her head. I mean, we're going to go inch by inch.
I remember when I first started training, I also threw everything at the wall just to try to get a result because that's what people wanted. But then I realized that the dogs were miserable, I was miserable, and it wasn't about me. So this dog's shiftiness, again, we're talking this dog is not able to process the information it's getting in the environment. The environment is scary. You cannot learn when you're afraid. All right, so he's basically saying, all right, well, I'm going to try to give a treat. Well, he's not eating treats. Well, the dog ate treats earlier. The reason the dog's not eating treats prior to this video is because the dog is over threshold. It's going into shutdown mode. It's going into learned helplessness because everything the dog has tried to do, he is not allowed, and he's not communicating to the dog. He's just using the leash to control the dog. This dog is really struggling right now and is stuck in this abusive situation with no help.
Good girl. And, no, but we can't let her just do this circle thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to gentle leader. Step on the leash. Yeah, have you ever seen one of these? Good girl. Good girl, Haru. Good. We'll see.
So he's struggling getting the dog to walk and pay attention to him because the dog doesn't have the capability. Emotionally, mentally, does not have the capability. And he's not even taught any skills. I've not heard him one time direct the dog on what the expectation is. So he hasn't even taught any skills. And because he hasn't done that and he's not getting the results, he decides to use the gentle leader. Now, I don't like the use of the gentle leader. I've seen worse. But here's another thing is the gentle leader is going to cause stress on this dog. It's going to be one more thing the dog is stressed about. As I mentioned before, we never put the dog in a stressful situation with other things that are stressful. Even when we use something like a basket muzzle, we acclimate a dog to a basket muzzle so that they can see the basket muzzle as a positivity. Just like I want to see them know that the leash can be a positivity or is a positivity. Treat bags, positivity. Other dogs, positivity. Going for a car ride, positivity. It's finding these positive associations that we make. If we are using something that can cause stress in a stressful situation, we are doubling the dog's stress, which is what happens here. And then he talks about in this next one how he's going to he didn't condition the gentle leader. He threw the gentle leader on the dog when he was able to, and it just basically says deal with it. He doesn't care about how the dog feels.
We'll see. Now you're going to see conditioning a gentle leader. These videos become what they become. Good girl. Good. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Okay, so once again, he is being confrontational. He's leaning towards the dog and he's trying to put something over the dog's nose that the dog has never seen before. And so he's being confrontational. And you see this bow that the dog does? That is called a calming bow. That is a level 1 calming signal where the dog is trying to avoid conflict and communicate to the bully that he's not comfortable. And I'm glad that he at least recognized, so he stopped. Otherwise, he definitely had a good chance of being bitten.
Okay, we're going to sit here for a minute. Oh my goodness. I mean, she's over 2 years old. We don't have a year.
So if you miss all the head looking around and the moving and trying to figure out what's going on in the hypervigilance, if you miss that, then you can see the dog didn't take the treats because the dog is way over threshold. The dog is absolutely frightened. I don't understand what he means that the dog is already over 2 and we don't have a year. I don't think that there's a time limit on working with trauma. There's not a time limit in working, on dogs' welfare and autonomy and agency. I think what he's talking about is that because he has money that he's guaranteed to fix this dog in 2 weeks, he doesn't have time to do the things that are good for the dog. He's got to get the result that he was paid to get, which means that he cares more about that money than he actually cares about working with the dog. Now, don't get me wrong, I like my money, but I'm not going to do it to the detriment of a dog's well-being.
Okay. Does that mean we rush it? No. I know. It's enough escaping, by the way. I have not been mean to her. She's got to learn she's not going to be hurt.
I'm not sure I've listened to someone who contradicts themselves so much. Not going to rush it, but I'm going to keep the leash about 6 inches to force you to be with me so that I can get this gentle leader on, so I can push you into going for a walk that you're not ready for to work on reactivity. I've given you absolutely no skills to work on. Okay, gotcha. Now, The other thing is that he said, you've got to stop this avoidance because she's got to learn that she's not going to be hurt. He thinks that hurting a dog is just physical when he is being, again, emotionally and mentally abusing. He is not allowing the dog to do what's natural. Fight, flight, freeze. He is flooding the dog. He is forcing the dog. He is disrespecting the dog. So the dog is going to learn to just do nothing. And this is how a lot of these trainers do things. They push the dog so much that the dog gets to the point where they shut down, they have learned helplessness, and they show the owners, look how good this dog is now. So yeah, he's contradicting himself very much so. When we acclimate a dog to a basket muzzle, and if I was going to use a gentle leader, and maybe I need to, maybe the dog has some, is incapable of using a harness, maybe the dog can't wear a regular collar, and maybe a gentle leader is the way I need to go. Okay, I'm not going to correct the dog with it. But two, I'm going to take a couple of weeks to acclimate the dog into being comfortable with it and not feeling stress when wearing it.
Okay, all we're working on right now is getting this gentle leader on. Allison, the camera person, could put it on instantly, but good girl. What a nice girl you are. Oh my.
Besides not acclimating the gentle leader, he admits that the female could put this on the dog probably immediately without causing the dog too much stress. And yet, he refuses to do that. He doesn't care that it would be less stressful on the dog. And this is why, guys, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I had to get down on the ground with her? Oh my goodness. I know. You don't like it. No one likes it. I know you're a good girl.
So watching the body language of this dog, you can see how very, very uncomfortable she is, but he just keeps pushing and keeps pushing. And then he admits that no one likes it. But instead of doing work, actually doing work on his part and helping the dog learn the appropriate skills, he just chooses to throw something on the dog that the dog's not going to like. And he knows it, but he doesn't care because for him, it's a quick fix. It's not about the actual dog. Here's the biggest difference. If you want to know the biggest difference between balanced and aversive trainers versus positive trainers is we actually care about the welfare of the dog. And aversive trainers, they can say they do, but when they show things like this and they do things like this and they know that it's not good and they do it anyway, then we know that they're coming at this profession with a whole different mindset.
Look it, she got uncomfortable in that, and the first thing she did is come to me for like safety.
Okay, y'all, I didn't think this could get any worse. This dog did not come to him because it felt safe and came to him because he didn't like this and he wanted to feel... No. One, you only have the leash this far. The dog has no choice. You've already prevented the dog from going anywhere. Two, the dog's like trying to say, can you please get this off? I mean...
It's like, that's a good thing. I know. She's like, I don't like, now I don't like this thing more than I don't like you, Joel, so I'm gonna come to you for safety. We've got like...
No, Joel, I'm pretty sure anyone with eyeballs can see that the dog doesn't like you or the gentle leader equally.
We've got like a common enemy. I know you're a good girl. I just like talking to her. Yeah. She ate treats before this video. You ready to go on a walk? We're dealing with fear, right?
So again, dog's not going to eat treats. The dog is shut down. Dog's way over threshold. And for him to be surprised that the dog's not eating treats, again, tells me that he doesn't have any real education and knowledge on dogs and development and all that good stuff. Anyway, he, again, also talks about they're dealing with fear. Dealing with fear. You don't deal with fear by causing fear. Just like you don't deal with aggressive behavior using aggression.
Now when she pulls, her whole head turns. She don't like that. That's good. We need to be using this. Keep her on the left. All right, let's go. We've got a dog set up out here. A dog she hasn't met. Look at this. This thing changed the game. I talk to you guys about it all the time. Many of you use it.
So he thinks it's a good thing that she doesn't like it. And again, basically he's just saying that I don't know how to teach you to walk on a nice loose leash, so I'm just going to put a tool on you that's going to prevent you, and then I'm just going to correct you when you do what I don't like, even though I'm not going to communicate to you what I do like. And so again, he's just using it to have control, but he's actually not teaching anything. The gentle leaders can absolutely be used, but guys, you've got to teach your dogs how to walk nicely using verbal control, right? I teach my dogs, let's go this way before I ever put a leash on them. And you can check out my videos on TikTok, and I think I may even put it on YouTube, where I introduced a leash to my puppy, but I did it only after putting in words. And she went on her first trip in public yesterday on the leash, and she did great. But it would not have done well and gone well if I had not put in good verbal cues. And so, yeah, this will change the game because a gentle leader actually mimics a muzzle grab, which is a level 3 calming signal, which we call ritualized aggression. And it's used to prevent real aggressive behavior. That's one of the main reasons I don't like using it. And then you can see how the dog is scratching and trying to get it, and that those nails are going to cut her face. She is very stressed out and feeling traumatized. And every time she's trying to get away, she's being prevented, which means now we're getting into our learned helplessness.
She's fighting it. She's all right. I just stop, pull it up. She can't just sit there and fight it. We're going to let her orientate herself to where we are, okay? Yeah, we're on a walk. Like, I'm not ready to just go again. You're a good girl. You want to go? Okay. There's an aspect of tough love to a lot of things I do.
Those that tend to use harsh methods always love to put titles and labels on it. This is not tough love. This is abuse. This is disrespecting the emotion of a dog, disrespecting the need of a dog, not caring that you're causing stress and trauma for your own sake. That is abuse. That's not tough love. So please don't get that mixed up. Is tough love a part of life? Absolutely, right? We may want to give our child something, but it's not in their best interest and it's going to hurt their feelings. But we can explain to them and talk to them. And that is a little tough love. Tough love is not abuse. It's not forcing a dog to do something and disrespecting the way they feel just because that's what you want.
But we're not going to move too quick. We're going to move at the appropriate rate. But she's like, I hate this thing. You guys might be like, oh, she's scared and she hates that. Most of you aren't. Some of you. If you have kids, you realize that, like, you can't just always give in to fears.
So fear comes from trauma, and it's a symptom of many things deeper. And if we don't deal with that deep, then again, we're suppressing behavior, and it will have to come out somewhere else. It will have to. All right, and dogs have to learn coping skills. And when he talks about going at a rate, the right rate, he's already off the rate, right? We should not even be for a walk. We should not be introducing her to a dog she's never met. We shouldn't even be on a leash working on leash reactivity because the dog does not have the skills.
Dogs and kids, how they're raised is not much different. The fundamentals of it are very similar. Is this dog scared? Yes. Does this dog think it's gonna be killed by me? No. The dog has just avoided things and kind of gotten away with it.
So yes, kids and dogs are similar when it comes to toddlers and dogs and the way they're developed. When a dog is afraid, avoidance is a part of their natural instinct for survival. And if we don't allow that, then we have left them with behaviors that we typically don't like to see, which is why we have to start teaching coping skills and helping the dog, one, keep its central nervous system in a place where it can actually learn and tap into the memory of what we've taught when it comes to coping skills. So by putting the dog in the situation right now, you are flooding the dog with more fear, and it's going to get to a point where the dog has absolutely zero ability to even learn coping skills. Because every time a behavior happens, it creates this pathway in the brain, and it may start very thin. Okay, it's like water running on the grass, but the more that water runs on the grass, the wider the path gets. And it's a lot harder to dam that up to create new pathways. So he's creating a bigger neural pathway where this dog's coping skills are going to be avoidance. It's going to be probably redirected aggression, which is trying to escape, or suppression with learned helplessness, which is really what this dog is going into. But if it continues, I would not be surprised to see this dog finally escalate into ritualized aggression to try to stop all of this confrontation and bully behavior that has taken place.
Not the owner's fault, just whatever. I'm kind of over, just because the dog is sad or nervous does not mean we're not going to go on this walk. Does not mean you're not going to wear this gentle leader.
So he admits to knowing that the dog is scared and fearful, and yet he doesn't care. And he started to say, yeah, well, I'm over it, and we're going for this walk. But he stopped. Yeah, well, I'm over, and then he went on. It just, again, goes to show that he is forcing dogs to do this for his video content, but also for his ego and for promising things that cannot be done. Okay, and this board and train, and I want you guys to understand that the majority of board and trains that you send your dogs to, this is what's happening. Not all of them. I'm not going to do a blanket statement, but a lot. And I can tell you this right here is one of the worst that I have seen personally be abusive beyond physical. This is so emotionally and mentally abusive. It is deeply disturbing.
You're fine. You're okay. I know she's okay. This is not too much. We're right up to the line of too much without crossing the line. I've crossed the line before.
This clip tells me that he should never be working with dogs. If he doesn't recognize that this dog's been over threshold since it's arrived on its property, I don't know if there's any help here. He seems to think he knows how the dog feels, even though he's admitted the dog is afraid. Yeah, this dog is way over the line, and he's way over the line. He was way over the line when he started trapping the dog into the kitchen and forcing the dog to interact with him. So yeah, this is definitely beyond threshold, over threshold. And again, it goes back to this is just abusive and about his ego and making sure he gets his videos done.
Of too much. You've seen me say it on videos. Okay, this is not too much. We're right at that line. Is she totally happy to be out here and happy I'm on the other leash? No. You don't have to be happy every moment of your life. She needs to be pushed a little bit to deal with things. You're a good girl, Haru. Yes, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. She's doing fine. This is the best thing for her.
So he's admitting the dog is fearful, and the dog is not wanting to be there. The dog is not prepared to be there. And are there times we need to push our dogs? Absolutely, right? We can't just keep them in a bubble because life is life. However, we should never put our dogs in situations where they don't have the coping skills and they don't have the ability. He has taught nothing on this dog. And if you watch, he spends more time talking to the camera and just yanking the leash, just literally yanking the leash constantly because the dog gets a little ahead, but he's not communicating at all. He's just yanking the dog. And he knows that this dog's not happy to be out there, but yet he's forcing it. That is not going to fix anything. I don't know the last time you guys have been fearful of something and that someone putting you in it, not caring how you felt, made you feel better. Come on. Y'all, we got to be smarter than this. Okay, we can't let just this talk and these fancy little videos of let me show you how I can suppress behavior be impressive to people. All right, we've got to start really caring about how dogs feel, how they think. If they're truly man's best friend, why are we not treating them that way? Right? And being respectful and teaching them the skills. As positive trainers, we make sure we teach them the coping skills they need and build that confidence up before dealing with the things they're afraid of. It's just common sense. And it's also science. It's also continuing education. It's about actually caring about the work that you're doing and not just getting that result so that you can line your pockets and stroke your ego.
If they were doing private sessions, I'd be like, you have to go on walks every day. Okay, we have a dog up here, dog she hasn't met. Now, I haven't really done that yet because we're working on fear, but that was a good little leave. You've seen the method 100 times.
In order to correct a behavior that has become a habit, okay, and it's formed that pathway in the brain, as I just said. In order to stop that behavior from being the default, we have to create new pathways, which means we have to give new skills. But at the same time, we can't keep allowing a behavior to work, which means that management is crucial in leash reactivity. We do not put dogs in situations where they actually show reactivity. When we're working on leash reactivity, no one would know we were working on leash reactivity because every time the dog practices it, it creates, again, that pathway. It's just grinding it in there, right? So if you're walking up, go out in your yard if you have a dog that runs your fence. When they start running the fence, it creates this very small, you can barely even tell it's done anything. But over time, that pathway gets bigger, bigger, and bigger. Well, if we just allow the dog out there and we say, hey, here's a new pathway I want you to follow. Can you run this pathway? Well, if the old pathway is available, the dog is going to default to that because that is what the habit has created. Now, in order to stop them from taking that path, we have to manage, not allow them access to that path, and show them the other path that we want them to take. This guy is just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to leave that same pathway out there, and then I'm just going to correct you for doing it wrong. I'm just going to cause punishment. And what that does, let's take our yard analogy still. What that's going to start doing is taking a dog who has enjoyed the backyard, that if we're punishing now for running the old pathway instead of the new pathway, then we're going to create fear of going in the backyard, fear of being around the fence, maybe even fear about the dog that's barking on the other side because that same dog was barking at the time that they got in trouble. There are a lot of associations that are created. And here he is, again, just allowing that same pathway to work and then being mad at the dog for using that pathway. We are the human and we're supposed to be the greater species. We're supposed to be helping these dogs, not punishing these dogs for doing something out of fear.
Oh, now she's on my page. Okay, we got a dog set up here, dog she hasn't met. Oop, left me. Probably fixed the leash reactivity with that correction, to be honest with you.
So he mentions that now she's on the same page, when in actuality, no, she just can't seem to do anything right because there's nothing but corrections. So being on the same page, no, she is now in learned helplessness and starting to shut down. And then you're seeing this, oh, I'm going to stop, and because you don't, I'm going to jerk you back with that gentle leader head collar, which is yanking the neck back. I can't tell you how bad that is. But then he says, we probably just fixed the leash reactivity, that correct. That is not. No, what you did was you're saying, I'm stopping what looks like leash reactivity, so I'm going to suppress the external behavior to make you, the dog owner, believe that I fixed it that quickly with these corrections. No, this dog is still going to be reactive. Maybe not in this situation with him because she's learned that doing anything around him is going to cause pain and discomfort and more fear and anxiety. So she's just going to be into that full compliance where she looks like she's doing what he wants because she's learned. No, she's doing it because she wants to survive the day.
With you. We probably did. With that one correction, let the leash go, let the dog leave me. Bink. Someone had a meltdown on my comments the other day.
I don't know anywhere, that it's appropriate to teach an organism without communicating and just yanking them. He stops, yanks the dog's head back, and then bink, like it's a really cute little correction. And then he comes into somebody who had a meltdown because you don't correct on a gentle leader, and that comes back later. But yeah, people that actually love dogs and care about dogs are going to have a meltdown because they're watching you abuse these dogs and giving this advice to other people. And this is going to do nothing but increase the dogs that end up in shelters, increase the dogs that are behaviorally euthanized, and increase dog bites.
There's the dog. What did I say? We fixed the leash reactivity with that one correction, and then the second one, we did. We fixed it. I'm not saying we fixed it forever. I'm saying the dog did not, there's a dog right there, just past us.
If it's not fixed forever, then it's not fixed. You suppressed the behavior with that correction because the dog is so inside itself, it can't function because it's so afraid of you, afraid of the dog, afraid of the environment, and afraid of any future corrections that the dog has no idea are coming because nobody has set any expectations, because nobody's actually taught any coping skills. You didn't fix squat.
We'll go dog to dog, real close. Yeah, this way. Yeah, okay. We're going up a dog. You drop the leash, you let the dog leave, you give the dog a correction. Good, yes, that's a good girl. That's our good girl.
So the whole idea behind his style right here is I'm going to put the dog in the situation where the dog is going to do the wrong thing so I can correct it, so I can stop the external behavior. That's all that's happening here. He literally tells you, let the dog lead so you can correct it. I'm not sure about you, but I didn't get a dog to have that type of relationship. There's a lot of work that goes into before you start working on this. And here he is. He's just like, let's get closer and closer because he wants to correct the behavior.
I know what I was going to say. Someone the other day had a full flip out. They're in caps, oh my God, no, no, no. You cannot give a correction on a gentle leader. I responded to her. Then she took the comment off. But you don't want to give big corrections on a gentle leader. But the dog will regulate its corrections.
So he admits you don't want to do hard corrections on the gentle leader, and yet he does every time. That gentle leader should never be yanked on like that. That's going to cause some serious issues. There's a lot happening around the neck and the head area, and if that is damaged, then we're going to have neurological issues, which can create physical issues. So it's just a really bad idea overall. If you have a dog who suffers from trauma, reactivity, fear, anxiety, or you know someone, have them reach out to us. Reach out to a positive trainer in your area. Or if you don't know, reach out to us and we will find one for you. If we cannot work with you, we will find somebody for you. You do not want to go this route using these type of techniques. This is suppressing behavior. It is abusive. It is taking away autonomy and agency over a dog. It is disrespecting dogs' communication skills. It's disrespecting their feelings and their emotions and their welfare. And it's frankly just not caring. And we have to make sure that we stop making this a normal part of what we think of as dog training, because this is not dog training. This is not dog training. Okay, this is just not dog training. So if you want to learn more about dogs and how to build a real relationship instead of a dictatorship, then make sure you follow us on all social media channels and check us out wherever you stream for your podcast. Dog Speak, Redefining Dog Training. We'd love to have you as a Dog Speak geek.